I've always wanted to do boxing, always. I've always wanted to do some sort of combat sport, but my mum wouldn't let me when I was a kid. Growing up, it was just more of a fascination. I literally was just like, I can do that.
And what did you learn from that fight after?
I learned patience. When you're boxing and you're winning all the time and just blowing these guys out the water, you're not really patient. You're just looking for the knockout all the time. Everything's been sorted out. The bout's supposed to happen. We get to the day before the fight, literally at 11 o'clock at night. I get a message from my coach, one of my coaches, Jeff, saying the guy's coach has pulled him out. He said that, but then it's like, you told me this 2 weeks ago. I've been training, cutting weight, and now all of a sudden you pulled out a day before.
Yeah, it's so hard, diet. There's so many aspects that everyone's different.
Yeah,
something that you might eat and be peak performance on, I might eat and just put on weight and feel lousy.
Yeah, it has to be specific towards the individuals. For example, I've got a fighter, an actual fighter, MMA guy, but he only does boxing, striking with me. And he'll drink fizzy drinks 24/7. And he'll go and compete fine and train fine and not really feel like it has much effect on him. But for me, if I just drink like a can of Coke, like that could spike me up so much and then drop me down straight away.
Yeah, I was listening, did you listen to the Terence Crawford podcast and Joe Rogan?
Yeah. And
he was saying how he'll treat himself to a fizzy drink.
Yeah, after every training session.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with him, but I see how that works. When you're training hard all the time, what's a bottle of Coke going to do? It's not really going to have that much effect on you.
And you do need to get sugar into your muscles.
Exactly.
So like, for example, I had that Lucozade Sport. If you're going to get as much hydration as possible straight after, if you're just drinking water, it's the worst way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what else did you learn on the PT course? Was there anything that sort of stood out, or was it that was it and then you got the qualification?
Yeah, that was it, and I got the qualification. It was more so I was doing it when I was at uni.
Okay.
So I haven't mentioned I went to Winchester University. I studied sports and exercise science, and then I'm also going into my masters and doing physiotherapy.
Wow, okay.
So when I was at uni, there was sort of like it was kind of like a gym course, and they were just basically telling us like, do this, especially because they knew I did boxing as well. I became national champion in my first year at uni. So because they knew I did boxing, they just sort of pushed me towards that, PTing. And then, yeah, I just sort of took it under my stride and been going up ever since then.
With sport and exercise science, did you have all the machines at university as well? Where all the testing rooms and the labs?
Yeah, we had all the testing rooms, all the labs, everything.
Did you ever test yourself when you were like competition fit with everything?
Unfortunately, no, because COVID happened.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so we went through everything and then COVID happened and we sort of had to like, everything was from home after that. So it was just online testing and things like that. Or our lecturer would have someone in the lab doing it and we just have to just put in...
Yeah, you just had to copy the data over.
Yeah, just copy the data over,
So what was your dissertation on? Was it boxing related?
Yes, my dissertation was actually boxing related. It's about how diet affects you. Yeah.
And what did you find out? What was the actual question and the summary? I love listening to studies and things, so I'm sure you learned something.
It was more so about how dieting affects the mental state of a boxer. So in actual fact, what we don't actually think of all the time is how the rigorous training and like the strict diet affects your mental state. Because when you go from being so used to eating whatever you want, whenever you want, and then going into training straight away, and then now all of a sudden you've got all these restrictions, how does that make you feel mentally? And a lot of people said they feel more mentally drained, they feel more tired all the time, which is probably just mentally, like it's probably nothing. You actually don't really feel like that. It's just your brain telling you stuff. But yeah, that's basically what it was. More of a negative effect.
It's interesting you say that, because when I had Jack Coke on, he said how he gives them a balanced diet. They still eat some good foods.
Yeah.
As long as they're counting calories. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen his page, but they're eating like honey, banana toast. They've got like all really good chocolate Weetabix in the morning or whatever.
Yeah.
Tasty food.
Yeah.
Stuff that you would eat if you weren't on a diet. And the way he sort of plans it, that the longevity of it's there, and you don't have the burnout of feeling like, oh, I've got to have chicken rice again. in 2 hours, or but the way he does it, he thinks about the mentality. So it ties in with your dissertation. Thinks about the mentality. Would I want to eat that?
Yeah, exactly.
As well as how easy is it to cook and get on a plate? Because obviously you don't want to be cooking for 2 hours, do you?
But then the thing is, a lot of amateur boxers, especially the ones starting out, they don't have the correct nutrition plan, or they don't really know what they're doing when it comes to that aspect of the training. They just sort of eat whatever, or just eat less, drink less when it comes to the week of fight. So when you get to that sort of mentality, it can affect you a lot.
Yeah, that was me. When I had before my first fight, only been in the gym 3 months, I was having Herbalife. I was like starving myself all day, and I was just eating a mackerel fillet, walking home from boxing training, just like fresh out the packet. It was terrible, but it's because I was picking things up off of other people, as you do.
Yeah.
So when you're in the gym and you're like, oh, it's fight week, how much water should I be drinking?
Exactly,
Like, it's all just sort of new to you, and you're trying to pick up off the people that are doing so well what they do.
Around you can only pick up from the people around you. Like you were saying, for my first fight, I was working in an office. So all I was doing was just eating a Mars bar every couple of hours. I'd have my sandwich in the morning, and for the rest of the time, it's just a Mars bar every 4 or 5 hours. And that's what I was living off. Honestly, like that's how I was living at that point in time. But then it got to a point where I started to think, all right, if I start this like a month in advance, it'd be a lot easier the week before the fight. I'd try not to procrastinate as much as possible.
My name is Dennis McCann, professional boxer for Frank Moore and MTK Global. This is Fortress Boxing. A lot more protection. It's a no-brainer. Around your thumbs, around your knuckles, around your wrist. That's exactly where I have the problems at. They're very compact, so I feel like I'm punching hard with them on as well. And I feel like when you got sparring 14, 16 ounce gloves, the smaller wraps can't really. They're too small for the gloves. That makes sense. So these are a bit bigger, and they're getting the gloves a bit more. They're making them more compact.
How do you find as an amateur boxer? Do you try and get on weight as early as possible and then just maintain, or do you find it like you have the edge that maybe you sit above the weight and then you cut the last bit?
Okay, so how I like to do it, I like to be at least 1 to 2 kg over, like a week or two before the fight, and then slowly drop it down. I don't think it's very healthy to walk around at that weight all the time, 75 kg. Because when I started boxing, I was actually 85.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so when I just started training, not actually carded yet, I was 85 kg, but I was in the gym 24/7 pushing weights. So, yeah. So I don't think 75, walking around at 75 all the time is for me. I reckon I'd get sick. But slowly dropping down to 75 is okay.
And obviously, if you're on club shows and things, it's not got to be bang on.
I think it's 3 kgs.
Oh, is it 3, is it?
Yeah, so it's 75 to 78.
Wow, okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's quite comfortable. Besides, are you in the championships this year? Yeah,
so I boxed a guy from Brighton and Hove last weekend. So yeah, I am in the championships, and I'm looking to go into the elite ABAs.
Okay, and when's that next year?
This coming May.
Oh, this May. Okay.
Yeah, so I think the entries are April. And then, actually, no, it's March. So the entries are April. The first round of Southern Counties is mid-March.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm looking to...
So when you were 85 kilos, walking around, hitting the gym, what made you think, I want to start boxing?
Do you know what? It's weird. Like, I've always wanted to do boxing. Always. I've always wanted to do some sort of combat sport. But my mum wouldn't let me when I was a kid. So growing up, it was just more of a fascination about doing it. And I'll never forget it. I started going to the gym with one of my friends from college. And then we went down to a local pub in my area called the White Hart, watched the Anthony Joshua versus Klitschko fight. And I literally was just like, I can do that. Like, it was quite a naive thought. Because you watch World Level Boxing and you're thinking, I can be in there with them and do that. And next day I was in the gym, just never looked back. Been in the gym every day since.
When you went in the gym and you didn't know how to throw a jab properly and everything else, and you had to work out the footwork and stuff, did you soon realise?
Oh yeah, it's a very humbling experience. Yeah. You get in there with guys that like actually know how to spar, they know how to throw punches. They're not I don't know how to explain it, but you know when someone throws a punch at you the first time you're ever sparring, you're kind of like flinching away from it and everything like that. They're not doing that. And some of these kids, they're like 14, 13, and you're in the ring with them having a hard time. At the time when I started boxing, I was 17, so it's a bit disheartening, but you just learn as you go.
So it gives you the bug as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does give you the bug. You just keep on going. It's one of those things you can't stop.
So who was your coach?
My coach is Trevor Francis.
And you've been with him the whole time?
I've been with him the whole time, yeah. So he fought for the British title in his time, and he had a son who was English, European and Commonwealth champion, Dean Francis.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's got a lot of knowledge about the sport.
Yeah, good stable. And how do you find it in your gym? Have you got a lot of people your weight, experience? Is it?
So I've got quite a few people my experience, but I'm the only 75 kg in there. There's we've got a few light heavyweights. We've got one pro, Bryce Goodridge, undefeated pro, 6-0. And we've got a light heavyweight who's also in the championships at the moment, Camille Nowak. He's doing really well, got a few stoppages on his record. Yeah, hard hitter.
Nice. Yeah, well, getting a stoppage in the amateurs, it's
hard work, yeah.
Yeah. And have you well, before I don't want to talk too badly on decisions because I'll go off on one. Yeah. Have you been on the bad end of any decisions?
So my first ever loss, I felt like I got robbed, like clearly, because I went on an 11-0 win streak. My first 11 fights in amateur, and then it got to the quarterfinals of the novices championships, and I'm boxing a kid from Cuban Amateur Boxing Club in London, and I thought I just got the decision. I thought I definitely won the first 2 rounds. Last round I was a bit sloppy, but it was just coming back off COVID. Wasn't really training that well. I didn't even know I was going to be in the championships that year because the previous year was cancelled. But I thought I definitely won the first 2 rounds, hit him with the better shots, but they ended up giving it to him. I was distraught.
How did you take the loss after being on such a long win streak?
Oh, definitely badly. It wasn't like anything that was going to put me off the sport, but it was more so mentally, it just sort of shows you that you can be beat. And even if you don't perform badly, because I didn't think it was a bad performance. I just kind of felt like the judges gifted it to him. Not to talk bad on the guy. Like I actually have quite a bit of respect for him, but I felt like he was just gifted the decision.
Well, me and Matt were talking about in the podcast before this. He was just saying how it's absolutely fine if you're taking a loss. If it's a close loss, if you might have won, it really doesn't matter. If you lose convincingly and you lose bad and you're beaten bad, then there's going to be questions.
Exactly.
But if it's a close decision, or even in the pros, if you get knocked out of a clean shot, that's even though you're winning the fight or whatever, there's no discredit whatsoever. But
that's what hits hard.
Yeah, it's just to your ego, I guess, as well, of being undefeated and building yourself up to that point. It must have been harder because I lost my first bout. I learnt so much from it, and I'd only boxed for a few months, but I'd already felt that feeling to want to get back in the gym and go even harder. Yeah. I feel like some people that might get it later on might struggle a lot more than someone that gets it early.
It did hit hard. Because it was just one of those things. It was like I said, I felt like I should have won it. I felt like I should have won it, and I didn't understand what they were judging it on. Why I didn't win it. You just watch the fight back about 100 times to think, what were the judges thinking? But it's like, if you're scoring it on shots landed, I felt like I landed more than him. Who was better defensively? I felt like I was better defensively. Who was pushing the pace? Who was pushing the fight? Who was more aggressive? I felt like that was me. But it's judging. Well,
we had Conrad, our last home show that just happened. We had a few people. We had some questionable results, as you do. But he won only on a split decision.
Yeah.
He outboxed this guy for 3 rounds, hardly got hit, looked amazing, did everything you could want. Like if you watch him box, it's poetry really in motion, really good. But he only got given a split. We had a guy from our stable, Darwin, drop his guy and probably win the second and third round fairly comfortably, lost on a unanimous.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are you seeing here? Like, look at the guy, like he can hardly walk anymore. Yeah. But yeah, it's a sad part to the sport, and obviously as a professional,
it's even worse.
That O is so important.
Oh, especially nowadays. Like my coach always tells me all the time. He was like, when I used to box, like a loss on your record didn't matter. You know what I mean? It just showed that you were fighting decent people on your level. But now the O means everything. As soon as you lose your O, then everyone writes you off.
Yeah, well, the whole Mayweather era. Yeah, but it's slowly getting there now. I don't know. Do you watch many pro shows?
I watch quite a bit of boxing.
Yeah, so even like the smaller hall shows now, there's a lot of 50-50s going on, like Southern areas, English titles, and they're getting them like within their first 10 fights.
But that's the thing, is because it's so hard to sell tickets nowadays. Everyone's on the phone, everyone's on the whatever. We've all got different forms of entertainment, so getting people to actually go to these boxing shows is hard. So they have to put on more competitive boxing just to draw the crowd.
Yeah. Have you got quite a good support network with your boxing?
So I've actually sort of built my own support network throughout my branding and through just PTing people around the town, because Basingstoke isn't that much of a big sport in town. We've got a lot of talent, a lot of people doing big things, but it just seems like the town doesn't seem to get behind the people. So I feel like it's one of those things I sort of realised when I was at uni, that you can't wait for someone to do it for you. You have to get out there and do it yourself. Like, you can't wait for people to give you, opportunities. You just have to go out there and make it yourself.
You need to hustle.
Yeah, you need to hustle. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I'm from Maidstone. I grew up in Maidstone, and like you got Sam Noakes and Sean and that.
Yeah.
But everyone gets behind them. They do, like the whole entire town, really. Even when they say like the Maidstone Warrior, everyone on social media, like we've got quite a good town in that sense.
But then that's the thing. I feel like it's Kent ways, isn't it, Maidstone?
Yeah.
That's a big boxing area. Basingstoke isn't really like that. I feel like we're more football or like golf or anything like that. Like, we don't really look at contact sports or like combat sports in a high regard as, say, like a Portsmouth or like a Kent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And obviously you said you built your support network. Is this the ultimate goal for you to turn over at some point in the near future?
So I'm looking in the next 2-3 years. I do want to box and hopefully win the ABAs, the elite ABAs, before I turn over. But next couple of years I'm looking to turn over as a pro and take over the pro scene. And
you'll be doing Bucks as well if you're doing your masters?
Sorry?
And Bucks, British University Championships?
No,
or are you not doing... have you done the masters already?
I'm doing my masters at the moment, but you have to be under the age of 21.
Really?
Yeah.
What's being Bucks?
So there's an age limit, yeah.
Is that new?
I think so, but Bucks wasn't around when I first started boxing. Wow. Yeah, we didn't even get a mention from it. There was a boy from my gym, where he's not in my gym anymore, he's up in Wales, who actually went and won it. But when I started uni, we didn't hear about it.
That's a shame, yeah, because Bucks, it's huge. It's in Portsmouth in, I think, January next year. It's in here for a couple of years, but it's so good for university standard, because, in all honesty, the university standard's a lot lower than real local stuff. And it's always good to have that on your record as, like, Bucks champion.
Yeah, because, and, like, when I was in university, like I said, there was COVID throughout the whole time. So there wasn't really even much boxing going on. Like, after I won the nationals, the novices, I didn't box for like the next year and a half, nearly.
How did you stay motivated to stay in shape, stay near fight weight? Did it go at some point, or?
It didn't go, but I wasn't sure if boxing would come back, if I'm being honest with you. But I just kept training.
It's crazy, isn't it, to say that you didn't think you'd box again, maybe?
Yeah. Dude, I feel like COVID was weird. Like, everyone's just come out of it, and we've just all sort of forgotten about it. But there was a moment where I was like, is this going to be like life now? Are we just not going to be able to go outside, not going to be boxing? Yeah, I just thought it'd be life. So I did kind of, in my head, just keep thinking, like, just keep going. Eventually everything will get back to normal.
That's good. Yeah, it affected so many people.
Yeah.
And like, even just like the mental health side of things, like there's people that aren't the same now.
Oh, of
from
course.
Before. It's crazy.
I don't think anyone's really like the same. Like, you even go outside now, like, when I go on runs and stuff, I run past parks and it's empty.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really see much people going around anymore.
And even just like a little hello or a smile at someone, like communication, we're so disengaged from each other that I hate it. Like, it sucks. Like, compared to 10 years ago when I was a kid, I could be going on a jog somewhere and, you know, you'd have cars beep at you and wave. Like, it's
exactly,
weird.
Yeah.
But like now, like, you could be in Tesco's and people just got headphones in, not even looking. To be fair, I sort of do that sometimes.
But everyone's just sort of in their own world now, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like, we're all connected online. We're all scrolling on our phones for 5 hours, but there's no real like connection anymore, and that's why I think boxing's so good, because you're in the moment.
Exactly.
When you go to a boxing gym and you're chatting to your mates and you're there for hours, or PTing, or in the gym, you're in the moment.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about boxing. It's got its own little community, and everyone's welcome. That's the thing in boxing gyms. You sort of go into a boxing gym, and there might be like someone you'd never speak to if you were in the outside world, but you and him will be best of friends in the boxing gym. You'll be able to speak to each other, find out about each other's experiences. That's one of the best things I think about boxing. That's like, it's taught me, is just don't judge a book by its cover. Speak to everyone, get to know everyone.
Yeah, definitely. And it's so diverse, like you say.
Oh, very diverse.
Yeah.
Very diverse. People from all different walks of life.
And have you gone abroad to any trips? Have you done any boxing internationally? Or?
Unfortunately not. That's something that I really want to do. I really want to do it. But unfortunately not. I'm hoping to get to that stage after this year. So I've been working really hard for the past 4 or 5 years that I've been boxing, just moulding my skills. I feel like, personally, my style is a little bit more professional anyway. So when I do turn pro, I feel like I'll be better off there. But I've just been working really hard on my skills, and I feel like soon I should be able to hang with those boys internationally.
Definitely. And what would you say your biggest strengths are?
My biggest strength is definitely athleticism. I feel like I'm very hard to hit. I feel like I'm quite strong, fast, durable in the ring. I feel like I could be tough in there for anyone, on my best days.
What's been your toughest fight so far?
Oh, my toughest fight. I'd have to give it to, I boxed this boy from Smokey's Academy. It's up in Essex. And he was about 6'4", 75 kg. So imagine that, having to get inside on him. And not just that, he could hit. Like, I remember just coming in and getting caught with the right hand in the first round. I recovered and finished the bout, but I remember thinking, that boy can punch. He's not like these other guys. I've got to take my time getting inside of him.
That must have been tough, obviously, when you respect their power and you've still got to take shots to get on the inside. That must be hell.
Yeah, but he was a really good, not just good at fighting and brawling, he was very, very good at boxing, technically. He knew how to use his jab, he was using his height and his range brilliantly. Like, he was just trying to keep me away the whole fight, but also catching me coming in. But all respect to him, man, he's a good fighter.
And what did you learn from that fight after?
I learned patience. I felt like, because when you're boxing and you're winning all the time and just blowing these guys out the water, you're not really patient. You're just looking for the knockout all the time. And I would just go in there and swing, and a lot of these guys would just get disheartened after the first round. He just kept coming. He did not stop coming the whole fight. And he was a really nice guy. I got a lot of respect for him. I got a lot of respect for any guy who fights me anyway, but I always remember him as being a tough bout. I've had a couple of them. When you got a good record, you always get matched up with guys that are quite tough. So I've had a couple of them where I'm like, oh yeah, that was a good fight.
Have you found it hard to match where obviously when you was 11-0 as well? Was there a lot of pullouts and a lot of issues?
So after my first year, after I won my first national title, there was a good 6-7 month span where I just had constant pullouts and people not really wanting to fight me. Yeah.
That must have been tough. And do you still get that now, or is it a lot easier now?
So I've had 5 bouts this season already. And I was supposed to have 6, but my first one pulled out.
The season only started 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
That's good going.
Yeah, so my first one, I was supposed to have it in September, literally just the start of September, and he pulled out, said he wasn't fit enough.
Well, I'm guessing there's probably quite a few people, and if your coach is saying, look, he hits hard, he's got a good record.
Yeah. But it's even like the same. I was supposed to have a bout against a lad from the army, and we've... everything's been sorted out. The bout's supposed to happen. We get to the day before the fight, literally at 11 o'clock at night. I get a message from my coach, one of my coaches, Jeff, saying that the guy's coach has pulled him out. He said that you're a strong lad and you got a good record. Well, they can see that from your record anyway. We'd like to go with this other guy that would think would be a better match. But then it's like, you told me this 2 weeks ago. I've been training, cutting weight, and now all of a sudden you pulled out a day before.
That's wrong. Just, why even match you in the first place?
Exactly.
They shouldn't get your hopes up and give you a date or anything unless they're committed.
That's the thing, though. Throughout my whole boxing career, I've only had 21 fights. but that's happened to me like a good 9 times.
I've had more pullouts than fights.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same. I've had like, it's weird because you'd think we get into this sport because we love what we do, and it's like you kind of enjoy being in the ring. But some guys just like look at it, it's like, if it's not a win, I don't want to be involved. Or if it's not, like, do you know what I mean? You at least want a 50-50. If you've had 25 bouts, but you haven't won, I don't know, you've lost like 11. If I've only had 22, but I've won majority of them, it should still be a fair, I don't know, situation.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the coaches do have the last say in it all.
Oh, of course.
And sometimes the fighter would still fight you anyway. It's what goes on.
Yeah.
With your training, so obviously you're PT, so you're lucky enough to be in the gym every day.
Yeah.
How many times a day do you train? What does your week look like?
Okay, so from Monday to Friday, I train in the mornings from 10 till 12. And that's just boxing, like my actual personal training. And then I train on Sunday from 12 till 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you do anything else around that? S&C, runs?
So I do run. So I run, when I'm in competition, I try and run like 3-4 times a week. I used to do every day, but then I found out that's too much wear and tear on the body, especially like when you're fighting for 2 months straight every weekend.
And do you feel your legs start going in?
Oh, 100%. Like, you're just not as quick. You're not as quick as you should be anyway. That's what I found. When I cut it down to 3-4 times, I was a lot better.
And what runs are you doing? Do you mix up like sprints and 5Ks, 5 milers?
So what I do a long run each time, but on my sprint days, I mix in sprints with the long runs. So I'll do like 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. And then if I'm just doing like a one-off, I'll just do a long run. But I try and mix in sprints. I've noticed such a massive improvement in cardio from mixing in sprints with the runs.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, when you're only in the ring for 9 minutes compared to like running for an hour.
Exactly, yeah.
Trying to get it. And what sprints do you do? Do you have quite a lot of hills in Basingstoke?
Yes, so we literally live on, Basingstoke is on a hill.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so there's a lot of hills in Basingstoke.
That's ideal. Well, because Portsmouth, even though it's flat, the wind, like my run this morning, the wind is so
Creates
hard.
resistance,
Yeah, it's brilliant. So as soon as you turn around, you're flying.
Yeah, I guess running on the beach and stuff would help as well.
Shingles, yeah, I do that. Yeah, the only issue sometimes, depending where you are, you have like fishing hooks and there's lots of stuff that like at the end of the seafront, there's one bit you just don't run on.
Oh, okay.
But besides that, yeah, running on the pebbles is great. That's really good cardio. Like no matter how hard you pump, you're not going any faster.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you want. You want something that's going to restrict you. Because when you're in the ring, it's not easy. It's not easy.
And how do you lift a lot of weights around competition time, or do you avoid it all?
I try and avoid it all. I've got like a weird body type. I put on muscle very easily. I can go from 70, well, I reckon I'm about 77 now. I can go from 77 to 80, 83 very quickly.
Really?
Very, very quickly.
What, like within a few weeks, a month?
Oh, a few weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because not only when you're going to the gym and lifting a lot of weight, you eat more. So I feel like that's also a part of it.
So your peak week, so let's say competition's coming up, nationals, what does your last few weeks look like when you're at your optimal performance? Does it change much?
Yeah, so you try and go a bit lighter. Like let's say 2 weeks before, you just lessen what you're doing. So even you keep on running, I say slow down on hitting the bags. Let's say if you're about 2 weeks away, do your last week of sparring and then you rest for a week and then just work on technique. Because you don't want to burn yourself out for the fight. Like you want to have maximum energy for the fight. That's what we're doing it for.
Yeah, and how many days before the fight would you have a full rest?
Full rest, so I normally only do 1 day before the fight. For full rest, like literally don't do anything. But that's only really started recently. Like I'm kind of learning on the job. So before I used to even train the day before. Sometimes I'd have to go on runs in the morning to make weight and things like that. But now that I've gotten better with managing myself, yeah, I try and stop a day or two before.
That's good. And I'm guessing where you know your body now, you sort of, you know how to lose the water or whatever it may be.
Well, it's weird. I've had 21 fights now, and it's like I can feel when my body's on weight. I don't know how to explain it to you, but I can just sort of feel that like I'm right where I need to be.
Do you find it hard when the bell goes to go 100 miles an hour straight away when you want to sort of box when you like, do you find it hard to have that switch sometimes, or can you turn that switch on and just go all out?
What I've always tried to do is try and box first, try and work out their weaknesses. And then if that doesn't work, turn it into a tear up. But I've always tried to box first. So I don't actually go 100 miles per hour. I'll sort of walk around the ring, test them a little bit, see what they're good at, see if they keep their left hand low, if they're orthodox or not, and just try and pick at little things, try and pick at their weaknesses. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, if that doesn't work, if they're a good boxer as well, change to the other way.
And are you still trying to win the round whilst you're doing that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Still trying to win the round, always trying to win. Mm-hmm. Always trying. I don't think there's anybody who's been in the ring with me who said he hasn't been trying to win the fight.
And what would you say, in terms of like power, have you struggled with maybe, has there been bigger guys, like you said about the 6'4" person?
Yeah.
Has there been bigger guys where you've just felt sort of outpowered in some fights? Or?
I've never felt outpowered. I felt like a guy was a lot quicker than me. Mm-hmm. I felt like a guy was a lot mentally sharper, like just with his counters and defensive maneuvers. However, I've never really felt the power. I feel like I'm one of the stronger guys in my weight class.
Because you look massive for 75.
Yeah, I get that all the time. Literally everywhere I go to, they're like, I can't believe you're 75. But I've got little legs. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, got like lollipop build. Big on the top, small on the bottom. But yeah, power's never really been a thing that affected me. But speed, definitely, reaction time.
And would you say you've boxed every style by now? Like counter punchers, southpaws, aggressive people? Have you had a good mix?
I've only ever boxed 3 southpaws. Aggressive people, I literally had like my first 3 within this year. So like really guys that are just coming in to take your head off. Mm-hmm. Like I boxed 2 of them 2 weeks ago, back to back, Friday and Saturday. And they were just throwing bombs. Mm-hmm. Like I boxed this Russian guy from Surbiton. And I'll never forget, literally opening round, forgot about the jab, just come in with the overhand right. So, yeah.
And does that sort of change your game plan going into it again? Does it make you be, like you were saying, be more patient?
Well, I feel like as boxers, we try and all think, he's going to come in, he's going to try and use his jab, get on the inside, maybe land a few shots, and then, especially in amateur boxing, it's more in and out sort of movements. So you expect that. So when someone comes in, rushing in, just trying to take your head off with the right hand, you don't really expect it as much. Mm-hmm. But for someone I haven't been boxing a while, but I've had a lot of experience in the ring, whether it be sparring, just training or anything like that. So I can kind of work out what I need to do to sort of like, I don't know, dismantle that.
Yeah. I've seen there's a lot of white collar shows where it's all about whoever gets the first round.
Exactly, yeah.
And I've noticed it's happening a little bit more in the amateurs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are just coming out, balls to the wall, trying to get that first round and then sort of survive the rest of the fight.
But you know what it is? It's I feel like it's also the mentality of they're trying to impress the judges early. Because if you impress the judges early, that's going to stay in their mind. Mm-hmm. But then sometimes, like, you can box a really clever guy and walk into something straight away. So you have to be careful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And what's your diet like? I know obviously we said at the start, but what are you eating day to day?
So I'm actually Nigerian by nationality. I was born in Nigeria. So a lot of the foods I eat at home are African. So it's high carbohydrates, high protein, a lot of good fiber. I think I eat well majority of the time. I will have my occasional fizzy drink and chocolate bar every now and again, but I try and eat healthy as much as I possibly can.
So do you have a lot of good home-cooked food, though?
100%.
Is it jollof?
Jollof, pounded jam, all of that. All of that.
That sounds great. Yeah. And how many calories a day? Do you ever track it? Or have a rough?
I try not to. Because I'm one of I'll get obsessed. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those people that gets obsessed. So I try not to. When I first started boxing, I tried to do that. But then after that's when I went to the 1 Mars bar a day. 1 Mars bar every 5 hours, sorry.
It was working.
It works, but it's like, I don't feel like that's the right nutrition you need to be taking when you're fighting.
Yeah, definitely. And before a fight, to fuel yourself, what are you having?
So before a fight, I normally just like to have anything that I was eating while I was training. So even if it's just like pasta, do you know what I mean? Just quick pasta and just a drink. I try not to eat too much.
And do you take electrolytes?
No, I do not.
No? Ooh, yeah, you should get some.
I should, but I just feel like, for me personally, if I haven't been using it, using it before a fight, I don't know. You don't know how your body's going to
Not
react
even before a fight, just every day.
In general.
If you're sweating every day, it's just little. You can buy like the tablets or powder, but obviously it's just sodium, magnesium, all of that. But it really helps with recovery. Your body needs electrolytes to function.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever had a really long session and you feel a bit weary, your head might be going. That's just lack of electrolytes, not even water. So if you're drinking loads of water after, you're still going to be lacking the sodium and everything.
No, I 100% agree with you, because I saw something the other day. They were like, a lot of people are drinking water, but you need to add like salt to it.
Yeah, so that's your electrolytes.
Yeah, electrolytes, yeah.
Obviously, there's other things other than salt, but salt is the main one.
Yeah.
I'll show you the link of the one that I've got, but I
thank you.
definitely recommend it. It's just those little 1% will really help.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you have caffeine before a fight or anything? Is there anything that... No,
I
just
don't
go
have
in
caffeine.
Have the adrenaline of the fight.
I had Coke. I had a can of Coke before one fight. And obviously, you know, in the amateurs, we can wait for however long before we fight, especially as a middleweight. Normally, we're fighting near to the end of the card. So I had a can of Coke, and I just felt like my body just dropped. It just felt like a massive decline just in energy. I felt good after I drank it, but after a couple hours, just felt like a massive drop in energy. And after that, no caffeine.
So did you crash before the fight?
That's
what happened.
I crashed. I still won it, but... I just felt like massively down. Like I never felt like that. I never felt like that before.
Yeah, that's not good. Jack showed me, the nutritionist, you can get caffeine chewing gum.
Oh, okay.
He said chew it 5 minutes before you go out and you get that little buzz.
Oh, okay.
And it lasts long enough. There's not really a crash. I bought some. It come today. I'm going to give that a go.
Yeah, give it a go.
But I feel like those little 1% that you get on the way, they're so good, especially like you see in the pros. They have harder cuts, and there's certain things for your immune system you can have, and prebiotics, probiotics. Do you take multivitamins, or do you just try and have
I just try and be as natural as possible. Try not to add anything in, take anything out. But like, I'm always open to try new things. I'm always open to see what would make me better, what will improve my performance.
Yeah, it's good to, whatever days are your sparring days, it's good to sort of try with them. I'm not going to preach to you because you're a brilliant boxer. But one thing with nutrition, I've noticed that Jack said again, before a fight, if you practice on your sparring days to eat what you eat before a fight, exactly the same. Things that are quite high in sugars, obviously, again, what sugars? If there's certain things, your carbohydrates have different delivery methods.
Yeah.
So if you eat like peanut butter banana toast, for example, you've got the carbs from the bread, you've got the sugars, the fructose from the banana, all that. But it has different shuttles to your muscles.
Yeah.
So it fuels you quicker, gives you a much bigger energy boost than if you had chicken pasta or something. Okay. Obviously, you can have lots of different things, but his podcast came out last night, and I definitely recommend listening to it. I learned so much.
No, I would give it a listen. Like I said, I watch a lot of your podcasts. So, yeah, I'll be watching that.
Do you listen on Spotify or?
I do not listen on Spotify.
Okay, yeah, that's slowly picking up now, Spotify.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited
I'll give it a listen. I didn't know you were on Spotify, but...
And Apple Podcasts as well.
And Apple Podcasts. Oh, okay,
yeah. I had an email, it was like 3 months ago, and it said, you're top 100 podcasts in Norway sports or something. It was like, Norway?
Norway, yeah.
It was a weird
Going
email.
international.
Yeah, slowly. That's the plan. That's the plan.
Nah, it's good, man. You're doing well.
So what are your goals over the next few years before you turn over?
So my goals are to build my personal training business, No Weakness Fitness, into more, not global or international, but more locally. I want to take over the local scene, my area. I want to have loads of different fighters in the gym. So I wanted to do that. And also, I want to win the ABAs, the Elite ABA title. Hopefully, either represent England or Nigeria in the Commonwealths or anything like that soon. But yeah, just keep on boxing, keeping on improving, turnover, and get these titles, man.
Who are your role models?
So in boxing, it's got to be James Toney. James Toney, just the attitude, the audacity, the skills. I've got to pick him. I've never had a bad time watching James Toney or a boring moment watching James Toney.
What's your favourite James Toney fight?
It's got to be James Toney against Michael Nunn when he's come back and won it, knocked him out in, I think it was the 11th or 12th. Or another fight, James Toney versus Michael McCallan. Just the skill level in that fight is insane from both fighters. Their countering, their ability to catch punches, roll with punches. Oh, yeah.
His defense is so weird. Do you know how they say, like, don't bend at the hip and stuff you see online? Like, he mastered it.
Yeah.
Like, he could be in the pocket and you will not you're not
hitting him. Yeah, but that's the thing. He's a master of his craft, and I feel like that's why I have so much respect for him. And ever since I started boxing, James Toney, Evander Holyfield, top there.
Do you ever watch their fights and sort of imitate what they're doing when you're boxing?
Well, that's the thing. The way Trevor's taught us is the shoulder roll. So we use the shoulder roll quite a bit in our fights.
What did he do to teach you with that? What was the basics of the shoulder roll that he was?
So we're quite sideways on. So we literally fight like that. Oh, sorry. We literally fight like that.
Yeah.
Right hand up. And that was just ever since then. With very defensive boxing gym, never jumping in. Always lead with your jab, head down always, chin down, sorry. And then it's always just trying to counter off what the other person's doing. But yeah, I've always been very impressed by James Toney.
That's good. And I'm guessing as well, the fundamentals. If you've got the taller boxer and the shoulder roll might not be working, being jabbed, you can always resort back to the fundamentals.
Full guard, high guard. Yeah, and also leaning back as well. So obviously when they attack in the shoulder roll, you've got to lean back. And it's you can't always do that against someone who's a lot taller than you.
Especially if they come in with two punches.
Exactly.
You'll avoid the first one.
And my other role model would have to be Matt Goddard. So watching him growing up, he's very successful in the boxing world. He's also training clients. Everything he's doing or done are things that I'm aspiring to do or I'm currently doing at the moment. So watching him just, become quite big on social media, and in the boxing world over the past couple of years is really inspiring to me. And having his own gym, training his own fighters, yeah. He's Brilliant. Definitely one of my role models, especially because he comes from the same gym as me, comes from the same area. I look up to him a lot.
I loved my podcast with him just before this. Yeah. I loved how he articulated himself, how he thought of the fighters, the bigger picture. His view on boxing, I couldn't agree with anymore.
Yeah.
He's a switched-on guy. He understands the relationships with a fighter. I've only met him for an hour, but seems like a really good guy.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And what was his boxing like back in the day?
Oh, he was very slick, sharp. I remember him punching, his punches were just so quick. His jab was wicked.
He said he was just a really good counter puncher.
Yeah, he was, but his jab was that's one thing I remember. He had the snappiest jab. It was like a right hand.
Really?
Yeah, it was like a straight right.
Nice.
Every time he threw it. And he was also, I think he was a lightweight at 6'1". So you can imagine the size difference compared to him against some of these other guys.
Yeah, that's
huge. I think he was a light welter or a lightweight, yeah.
What is it? Well, light welters, is that 67 now? Light welter. It's changed, isn't it?
64.
64.
64, so 67 is super welter. Or I think it's 69 now because they changed it. They changed the rules because of the women's boxing as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 67 now.
Yeah.
Or 69, sorry.
Well, I think they changed it from 69 and 64 to 67 and 71. I could be wrong.
Yeah, so it's 67 to 71.
Yeah.
But then in the championships, they've also got a category for 69.
That's great. That's a great category.
It is, but it's sometimes, I don't know. I feel like when you change things up.
Yeah, especially if you get used to being at a certain weight and
Exactly.
you're 2 kilos heavier or lighter.
Yeah.
I can feel it when I'm running. I've got an extra 2 kilos.
Oh, 100%. It's like I said, when you get to know your own body, you can just tell when you're heavier, when you're lighter.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. And is there anyone you want to thank or shout out at the end of the podcast?
Yeah, big thanks to Trevor Francis, my coach. He's been not just a coach, but a good mentor over the last couple of years. Taught me a lot of things in and out of boxing that I'll definitely hold for the rest of my life.
Brilliant. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on, mate.
Yeah.
And I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you very much.